Today I'm going to discuss the top 5 reasons why I still love retro gaming. Number 5, games were a final product. You ever get home from Best Buy, excited to play your new game you just bought, you're driving home and you get home, pop it in your PlayStation 4, and then it says 5 hours remaining, updating the latest patch. 5 hours remaining, I just bought this game. No. Back in the day, developers didn't have the luxury of releasing these patches after the game was already released to the public. They had to make sure that these games were thoroughly developed and tested properly before they were released so that they didn't get a bad reputation. I mean, not all of them followed that rule, but for the most part, we got a final product on day one with no patches and updates. Number 4, physical media. There's nothing like opening up a brand new game, ripping the plastic off, pulling it out. Oh, it's a special edition. It's a gold one. And then, you pull out the manual and flip through it, see all the different enemies you're going to be fighting, pull out the map. This game has a map. And then playing the game and seeing on the screen where you trying to figure out where you are on the screen compared to where you are on the map in your lap. I mean, there's just nothing like that. Physical media looks great on your shelf. You could stack them all next to each other. With digital collections, it's not the same. You look at your screen and you push the down button and you flip through the games. No, physical media, there's just nothing like it, and I'm gonna miss it because eventually it's all gonna be digital in a few years. Number 3, simple mechanics. I mean, this is one of the most popular retro games of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog for Sega Genesis, and there's 3 buttons and they all do the same thing. They make Sonic jump. The developers back then, they didn't have the luxury of creating these games that were all advanced with all these different controls, these 10 button controllers. Back then, most controllers for video game consoles, they only had 2 buttons, 3 buttons. And yes, one of the most popular retro consoles, it had 2 buttons, and usually they did the buttons did the same thing. One of them jumped and one of them attacked. And the learning curve of some of these new games you get, there's 30 minutes. Because of all the different controls. Back then, the learning curve was under 30 seconds because all the games are very similar in the way they played. You just pick up the controller and you can just figure out how to play it right away. Number 2, there were a lot of firsts. I remember playing Super Mario Bros. 3 for the first time and discovering that Mario could fly in that very first level. I got the power up and I was I was running, and then I started tapping the A button or the B, I can't remember which button it was, but it was taking off in the sky, and that was so cool. I remember seeing that just being blown away. And then Star Fox also for the Super Nintendo, I remember playing that, and it was the first game I ever played at home that was in 3D. And I remember talking about that with my friends at school about how this game is in 3D now. Well, look how far they've come. This is the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Today it just seems like a lot of these games are just rehashes of other games that already exist. I mean, there's only so many games they could come up with, right? There's new stuff that they're coming up with, but it's just not the same as back then when they came up with these brand new ideas. It was so cool and so innovative. So I miss those firsts. But the number 1 reason I still love retro gaming, nostalgia. I mean, just thinking back on simpler times when we didn't have to worry about our next mortgage payment, but we had to worry about what time Beavis and Butthead was coming on TV. Thursdays, 9 o'clock. I still remember that. But no, seriously, just playing these games with our friends, there was so much fun, just reminiscing on the good old days. Playing through Zelda, playing through Mario Kart, all these games are just so much fun. And when you play them now, it just reminds you of back then, and they're just as much fun now, if not even more fun now than they were back then. Did I miss anything? Any other reasons why you love retro gaming? Please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.